I want to start out, I want to be perfectly clear. I do not want anything to happen to Hill. Absolutely do not. I don't want people to build their frustrations. You know, I don't want nothing to happen. I want him to live with this for the rest of his life. And I want to help him. I want to help him have a miserable life. You know, obviously, we let Stephanie down in a big way. And what we got, this is what we get. We get something after almost 13 years. This is what we get. We get it earned. That's what we get. And we're going to stuff her in this little box here in a few days. That's what we get. We didn't do justice for Stephanie. Not guilty. Obviously, we're very disappointed in that verdict. I don't blame the jury. They had a tough job. They didn't make the leap in their thought process. But I don't blame them. Under the rules, I probably would have voted not guilty myself. I don't blame anyone except Hill. And I have a very strong dislike for the tactics that the defense attorneys used. Maybe borderline legal, but tasteless. It was not about the truth. It was about manipulation and pointing fingers, an art form. We couldn't use witnesses or provide known details to show Hill's true character. But yet the defense was allowed to character assassinate all of our witnesses. Include they even assassinated some of their own witnesses. And they were good at it. We couldn't even defend Stephanie or her honor. Sadly, it wasn't about her. It was about Hill. The defense unsuccessfully argued that showing Stephanie's picture to the jury shouldn't have been allowed. Over the years, numerous people has taken polygraph tests, a lot of them. But we can't say that Hill failed 100% of his tests, and there was many of them, 100%. We also can't say that the Thompson cousins passed all of theirs. These are the guys that the defense spent tons of hours trying to point fingers at. We can't say Hill was convicted of robbery in 1998, but more specifically, we can't say all he stole was women panties and lingerie, constituting a sexual-oriented crime. Couldn't say any of that. We can't say that when his garage was searched, there was more than one person's share of porn in there. We're not talking Playboy, Penthouse, we're talking hardcore bondage-type magazines. Might make him look sleazy. Now, he made a very convincing phone call, very convincing. It was convincing to me when he was going to commit suicide. What would you do if you're getting ready to kill yourself? What would you do? Would you go and get the biggest steak that you can find? I mean, I don't know. Would you drink a real expensive bottle of champagne? You know what he did? He rented a whole bunch of porn films. That's what he did. Strange. That's what we want to do just before we kill ourselves. You get the picture? Now, I deleted a whole bunch of other stuff that's so-called evidence that I don't want to go into now. But I had a lot more. It's not about the truth. It wasn't about justice for Stephanie. Again, it was about finger-pointing. The defense went out of their way during the jury selection process and also mentioned it during the closing arguments that they did not have to prove any of their theories. They pointed fingers at mushroom pickers in a van. Ooh, what are they doing up there? They're picking mushrooms. They pointed fingers at the man that found Stephanie. The theory is he planted the bones for the reward money, despite the fact that he was in Idaho in 1998. They pointed fingers at the guy who was out looking for her on his own, and he's actually came close to where she was at. How can, oh, excuse me. But he didn't find anything. They pointed fingers again at the Thompsons and their cousins. How convenient. They pointed fingers at the detectives. Oh yeah, they also brought up the theory that the government's been lying since 1858, and they still are. My favorite, they attempted but failed to get hearsay admissible where they could point fingers at a deceased man. For some reason, in my mind, they even took a shot at me. Mr. Condon got up there when Christine was testifying, and he says, "Well, I'm sorry, Mrs. Condon, I have to ask you technical questions since I see your husband's not on the witness list." Like, Dad must have done it. I would have no problem testifying. All they had to do was ask me, and it wasn't my decision. But yeah, ooh, Dad ain't testifying. He's got something to hide. Well, Hill didn't testify either. In the beginning of this, one of the most difficult things for me was we had to defend Stephanie. There was nasty, nasty rumors out about her and how she did all, you know, it was wrong. And it was totally untrue. And it hurt. Now I feel we have to do it again. This time, I know where the truths are coming from. But the untruths came from, I'm sorry. Came from the defense. Outside of the jury, the defense tried to deny in legal arguments that it didn't imply that Stephanie was doing drugs and having sex with older men. But in my mind, that's exactly what they intended to do. They objected when we offered a witness to counteract, or I should say tell the truth about Stephanie. The defense called this witness to the stand, who's been convicted of identity theft and drugs. And they can't convince me that they didn't know what this person was going to make up. In fact, I think they were banking on it. And now they're stooping to slandering the dead girl. Absolutely pisses me off. Hill murdered our daughter, and the defense wants to taint her innocence as well. I don't know if the jury bought it, but I'm sure there's viewers out there that probably did. We found a diary entry that Stephanie wrote 10 years after her death. We found it right 10 years after her death. And it was dated October 3rd. She said, "I have a boyfriend." Now this is something we didn't know about. And she wouldn't have lied. And then another entry on the 6th of October saying, "I had to let him go. That it was a mistake and she wasn't ready for a boyfriend." Now we're supposed to believe that just a short period of time she's having sex with a 22-year-old meth head. Incredible. The other misstated information is that Stephanie babysat for Cheryl many, many times. This is also crap. She babysat for Cheryl 4 times. And that's all in the last couple months of her life. Kevin Thompson and Cheryl broke up over a month before Stephanie's death, and Kevin moved out. There's no way Stephanie had a relationship with this guy. None. How many times could she have seen Kevin Thompson? Once? Twice? Then there was a lot of hoopla about the defense claiming investigation wasn't done properly, that the process of handling her remains wasn't done proper, and all this other thing. They went out of their way to say the cops caused Hill to attempt suicide. I'm wondering if the cops are the one that delivered him his movies. My wife and I know, and you know, that this was not a drive-by investigation. Look how many years it's taken. There wasn't a single person involved with this investigation that didn't do their best. Their hearts were always in the right place. Christy and I were painfully aware of all the legal limitations, as the detectives were very concerned of Hill's rights, and they wanted to do it right. We just came up short. As for Hill, considering the rules of evidence and the rules of proof goes, a wrongful death suit is not out of the question. He killed our daughter, no doubt in our minds. He temporarily got away with it. I believe we can prove it by a preponderance of the evidence in a civil court. My last comments go for the defense attorneys. It's not a game to us. If you truly believe Hill's innocent, would you give him your blessings to date your daughter? Obviously, age is not an issue. And also, since you like pointing fingers in pursuit of your justice, I would like to point a finger at you and your paid investigators on Stephanie's behalf. Guess which one it is?